So do you have what it takes to be in my team? You've got to have your FIFA game on point. Who's winning the tournament then?
I'm winning the tournament. I'm winning the tournament.
Come on.
Hi and welcome along to AFTV News Daily, the early edition. It is Monday and there are only 9 days to go. I'm counting them down. 9 days to go until we are back in action in the Premier League when Arsenal take on Manchester City. And I, for one, I'm really, really looking forward to it, even though it's going to be behind closed doors. It's football, right? And I have missed it so badly. And I don't know about you guys, but wow, I can't wait just to see some real football on the pitch and hopefully to just get this season completed and out of the way. It's been a weird year with everything that's been going on. And just to see a bit of football, we'll just see things like a little bit of normality will be coming back into things. And we're going to be changing up a lot of our programs come the end of the week. We're going to be getting into full Premier League game mode, getting our game face on. So you're going to see a lot of different programs coming in. You're going to see a lot of previews, reviews, and we're going to be doing lots of interviews around the game. Don't worry about that. You will still see fans being interviewed around the game. As a matter of fact, even more fans than ever with the plans that we've got, which we'll be revealing a bit more towards the end of next week. But really, really looking forward to football coming back. And an integral part of that is going to be Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, as far as Arsenal are concerned. Scored on Saturday in the friendly. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see it yet. If you go onto Arsenal's YouTube channel, they've got the highlights of the game. Aubameyang scored a brilliant goal, curled in, and yet again on the score sheet, the guy can't stop scoring. And it was interesting to read today that Chelsea were interested in Aubameyang. Frank Lampard, and on the recommendation apparently of Petr Cech, agent Cech, as I think it was Troops used to call him, and he looks like he's spot on. Cech recommended to Chelsea, said, listen, get this guy. He's just the best striker around at the moment. But Chelsea opted to go for Timo Werner. They went against Lampard, the board, and Petr Cech, and opted for Werner, citing the age of Aubameyang and any resale value not being high as what Werner's would be. Werner costing £55 million, of course. Aubameyang does turn 31 this month on the 18th of June, day after the first game. So no doubt he'll want to, score a goal in that game just to mark his birthday. But for me, I've said it before, even though he's 31, I mean, you show me any other 31s that does somersaults after scoring goals. But it's not just about that. He's a very, very fit 31. And as long as he's banging in those goals, and as long as he's fit and he keeps going and he's still got his pace, we've already got him in the club. Let's just hold on to him. Keep hold of this player. He could be the sort of player that could propel us back into Champions League football maybe next season, maybe even this season. It'd be a bit of a miracle, but you never know. Keep hold of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, in my opinion. Arsenal were looking at Edouard, Odsonne Edouard, of course, of Celtic. He's had a fantastic season, 28 goals in 45 games. He's still only 22, another very young player. Came over from France as a real unknown and has really made his name at Celtic. And it said that he's been looked at by Arsenal as an alternative to Aubameyang if Aubameyang leaves. Now, if they are gonna get Edouard done, they'd have to get their, shoes on and really get moving on this one, because according to Celtic, they're in negotiations with Edouard at the moment about a brand new deal. They've opened talks with him. Their manager, Neil Lennon, has said that, they're very keen to keep Edouard, of course, a very integral part of what they did this season in winning the league, even though it was handed to them in the end. They're desperate to keep him, and they're sitting down with him, negotiating a new deal. And Neil Lennon saying that, he's Edouard is happy at Celtic. Now, of course, if Arsenal comes knocking, Edouard would want to go. There's without a doubt, coming from French football, it's a massive step up to leave from Celtic and to go to Arsenal. And even if a new deal is done, it doesn't mean that a deal to get an Edouard done in the summer would be dead. It would just mean it'd probably be more expensive to get done. But Arsenal are going to have to get a move on. And I think they're going to, this again, it speeds things up, doesn't it? A decision needs to be made on Aubameyang. I know the season's not over yet, but a decision is going to have to be made on Aubameyang very soon. Are we keeping this guy? Is he signing this new deal? Or do we move him on? I think Arsenal, literally, if there is this contract on the table that we've heard about, get it signed. Or if he's refusing to sign, then we have to look elsewhere because the targets are getting less and less. That's why Chelsea moves so quick for Werner, because they know, they're looking around at the strikers that are available and they're like, you know what? If we don't move fast, we won't get these guys. So Arsenal are going to have to make a decision on Aubameyang. Sign him, or we have to, as much as I wouldn't like that, but I would understand it from a business point of view. If he doesn't want to sign, you've got to get in that next target. Or the other alternative, of course, is you just decide that we're keeping him till the end of his contract, no matter what, and then we'll look for somebody at the end of the following season. Dani Ceballos, could he be staying at Arsenal? There's been lots of talk recently that he doesn't want to stay at Arsenal, that he's going to be returning back to Real Madrid. Of course, he's only on loan at Arsenal, and that he'll be returning back to Real Madrid when his loan move is completed at the end of this season. Well, he dropped a bit of a hint yesterday that he could be considering staying at the Emirates. He was speaking in an interview, and in that interview, and these are his quotes, he said, "My objective is to play in the European Championships and Olympic Games. And when they are happening, you need to find a team where you feel important." And then he went on to say, "The future is far away. We can't predict what will happen in a month and a half. Now we are focused on the postponed game against Manchester City on the 17th. But suggesting there that he wants to play regular football because he wants, obviously, the Euros that are going to be taking place at the end of next season. Remember, they were supposed to have been at the end of this season, but they were cancelled due to the coronavirus pandemic. And the Olympic Games, which was also supposed to have been this summer, and again has been moved to next year. So he's targeting playing in both of those. Now, you're not going to do that playing as a bit part player or sitting on the subs bench at Real Madrid, suggesting there that he will be more than open to a loan or more than open to going somewhere where he's going to play. Real Madrid apparently said to be, they would be willing to sell him, but they want about £36 million for him. It would more than likely be, if it did happen and he returned back to Arsenal, more than likely would be some sort of loan deal, in my opinion. 1 goal and 1 assist. Was it 1 goal, 2 assists this season? Not great. He has been injured for a long time, though, and it was starting to look good again under Mikel Arteta. So it's going to be interesting to see how that Ceballos one plays out. Remember, when we got him in, he's considered one of the top talents in Europe. And he has been injured for quite a long time. I really would like to see what he does from now till the end of the season. But Ceballos hinting there that he would be open to staying and playing regular football at Arsenal. Arsenal have been linked with Thiago Almeida. Almeida, very talented midfield player. He's Argentinian, plays for Vélez Sarsfield over there in Argentina. And there's a lot of clubs looking at him. He's got a £19 million release clause, still only 19, so still a youngster. Now, Arsenal have said to be one of those clubs that have been really, really interested in him. However, Manchester United now are the team that a lot of people are saying have moved ahead of everyone to sign him and are willing to meet his £19 million release clause. Not a high release clause for a player that, some people have been calling the new Messi. That is high praise indeed. Now, I don't know if that's because he's basically he plays in Argentina, or he's from Argentina. You know, people get these labels very quickly, but he is considered a really, really top talent. And if Arsenal again are to get a deal done for Almeida, they will have to move fast because United seem to be making moves on him. And another player also been linked with over there in South America, and ever since Edu's come in, we've been getting linked with a lot of players from South America. Never really used to be the case under Gazidis and that and Dick Law. But now with Edu in place, Sanelli, we get linked to a lot of South American players. The latest one being the youngster Gabriel Veron. He plays for Palmeiras in Brazil. Here you see him playing for the Brazil under 17 team, sorry. He's only 17. So a very, very young player, but again, considered a really, really top prospect forward he is. And of course, you know, we all look at these players now and we think to ourselves, well, could it be another gem, another Martinelli? You know, that's what we're all looking out for right now. But Arsenal apparently got their eyes on him. And a lot, you never know, you could see a few of these type of players come in this summer because, you know, they're going to be cheaper options and they're players where you sort of build for the future. They make sense as well because if you buy them and they're successful, the sell-on value, if you are to sell them, is huge. So you see the direction Arsenal are taking with these type of players that they're looking at. Right, let's get into some of your comments this morning, see what you guys are up to, what you've got to say. Let's kick off with Clement. He says, Robbie, love the show. Instead of spending 30 million plus on a new striker, we should focus on our youngsters. Nketiah has been scoring the last few games under Arteta as Lacazette has been struggling. He has the talent and the motivation. In such a financial struggle, we have our youngsters to rely on. Young, talented, motivated, and committed Arsenal. He makes some very good points there, Clement. And these young players are going to have a big part to play. And I'll tell you what, Eddie Nketiah, you know, big end of the season for him. If he can go out there and really put in some big performances from now till the end of the season, you know, we may not need to be looking at these players like Edouard. I mean, I haven't seen enough of Edouard, but if Nketiah was playing for Celtic, would he be able to repeat the trick what Edouard's repeating? Because remember, when Nketiah went to Leeds, did really, really well. He's come back to Arsenal, he scored a few goals already. So I know sometimes we look at from afar and we're looking at players and we're like, wow, he scored 28 goals for Celtic in the Scottish League. If Nketiah was playing for Celtic for the whole season, up against some of the opposition, and it's no disrespect to the Scottish League, but it's not the same standard as the Premier League, not even the Championship. Would Nketiah, you could quite easily see him scoring over 20 goals for the season, and then everybody would be like, wow, look at him. So maybe we do need to give some of these young players a chance. So really, really, really good point there. Quinteros 11 says, Robbie, the interview was to Marca, a Spanish newspaper, that's the one with Ceballos, in which he said he wants to go back to Betis. He keeps throwing hints at Betis and has done this all season long. 95% chance of seeing a return. Could go to Betis, could stay at Arsenal. You know, playing regularly at Arsenal will probably get him into the national squad quicker than playing regularly at Betis. Abe says, I think we should keep Ceballos if it's possible. He's a brilliant ball progressor and is an outstanding dribbler. We lack a technically proficient midfielder like him, and he can be world class. I rate him. I do rate Danny Ceballos. I want to see more of him. Would love to see him fit from now till the end of the season and really get a run of games. Amkuela says, hi, Robbie, playing Champions League would be a miracle. And that has to start against City. It would attract the players we want for a great next season. Play two up front until the end of the season. What do you think? Two up front against City would be a risk. They're a very good team, man. That'd be a brave move. But listen, you're right. If we could get into the Champions League, it does change the dynamic of the type of players that you're able to attract. Lil Wayne Lowe says, "Hi Robbie, I'm happy that Ceballos could be staying. He's a really good player. Just one who hasn't scored much. Changing him from a CAM to a CDM with Xhaka has worked well. Does Aubameyang need to be replaced? Aubameyang doesn't need to be replaced, but I was just saying, if we don't get this sorted out, we need to then start looking at what we're going to do." Stephen says, "Don Robbie, much love from Nairobi. Big up to everybody over there in Kenya." Here we go. It's Tayeb says, "Robbie, are you still upset about the Europa League final loss to Chelsea?" Oh, come on, man. We've got over that long time ago, right? Listen, if it was a Champions League final, I would still be hurt over it. It was the Europa League final. However, it would have helped us get into the Champions League. So I'm upset about every defeat, mate, but I never, ever keep it to heart. Toby says, "Hi, Robbie. I think we can still pull a Champions League spot as long as it's 100% effort from all of our players. It sounds like the players are exceeding in training according to Arteta." Now, remember, every other team is training and training hard. And remember, we're in 9th at the moment, and there's a lot of teams ahead of us. So it's not just a matter of us playing well. It's a matter of some of these other teams playing badly as well and faltering. But we've got to put ourselves in a position that if teams are faltering, we can seize on the opportunity, and we can only do that by winning loads of games. Indanil says, "Hi, Robbie. Initially, I thought it was better to sell Aubameyang if he didn't sign. But now, due to the COVID, it's better to keep him even if he won't sign. Better chance to get top 4 next season with Aubameyang." True that. Toby Rutter says, "Hi, Robbie. I think we can still pull for a Champions League spot." Oh, sorry, I just done that one, didn't I? Oh. Ian says, "Robbie, how can Arsenal not get Edouard? We could pay about 15 to 20 million max. Is 25 honestly for a top 25 honestly is top for is 15 to 20 million max is 25 honestly for a top club. We should be able to do this and sell Laka, and we can swap between Edouard and Nketiah." Phew, not a comma or a full stop there. That was difficult, but I hear what you're saying on that. As I said, Edouard has scored a lot of goals playing for Celtic. And listen, you can only do what's in front of you. But I ask that question again. If Eddie Nketiah was playing for Celtic for a whole season as the main man up front, would you not be confident, based off of what you've seen when he's been playing for Arsenal, that he could score 20-odd goals for the season? And then we'd be then looking and saying, "Get that Nketiah kid, get him. You know, he's young, he's scored that amount of goals. You know, he's on fire. Get him." You know, sometimes we might have what we've got here already without going to spend that 15, 20 million. Kingsley Opera said, "Get young South American players so we can later sell them to Real and Barca for good money. Very smart indeed." Well, listen, it's not how, to me, that's not how the real big club should be operating. We should be getting a player with the view that that player is going to succeed and be our player for years and years and years to come. But it's a sensible thing to do where we are at the moment, to always make sure that anybody that we're buying has a resale. You know, because you look at our history over the past 10 years, we've been a selling club. But we always sell players that have got no resale, so we don't get nothing for them. But I want to see, the original model, like they said, about competing with Barcelona and that. You don't see Barcelona even considering at the moment selling Lewandowski, even though, for years, other, Real Madrid's and all over been interested in Lewandowski. Bayern Munich have just said, "Shut up. Sell Lewandowski. Are you mad?" And they've been able to build their team around this guy and other players like him, and they're all dominant. About to win the league for the 8 seasons in a row. That's how you build a team. That's what Arsenal, Gazidis, when he used to say, "We're going to be like Barcelona, like Bayern Munich." That's the model. You don't sell your best players. John SC says, don't you think Eddie would score as many, if not more goals than Tammy if he started playing every game? Well, listen, Tammy Abrahams has done very well. And again, that's a player. Look at that. A player that's had his chance to play week in, week out for Chelsea. And he's done really, really well. Timo Werner won't just walk straight into that team. I mean, you know, he may feature in the team with Tammy Abrahams. But Tammy Abrahams is going to be under a lot of pressure now, obviously. Best in the world, one says, hey, Robbie, why do you think it is that players like Greenwood, Gilmore, Foden, etc., always seem to get praise and hype than our young players? Well, I think that's because they're all English. You know, I'm not sure if Gilmore might be Scottish. And to be fair, like Gilmore's been getting a lot of praise and he's done really, really well in a couple of games which he stepped in. Greenwood's had a lot of praise. Foden gets loads and loads of praise. He's a top player and he's English. But also, I'd say, you know, Saka has had a lot of praise. He's got a lot of praise as well. And so has Martinelli. I mean, you know, everybody's been praising them as well. So I don't think it's been unfair praise. I think if the player's English, he'll get even more praise because obviously being here in England, we want those players to succeed for the, you know, and the media wants them to succeed for the national team. So that's why they always get a lot of hype. Ibrahim SZN says, Robbie, please, I'm begging you, lad. Feed me the Partey news, lad. What Partey news do you got? None today. There's no developments on Partey. Remember, we're not at the end of the season yet. That's what we have to keep remembering. We're not at the end of the season yet. And we won't find out what's going to be happening with Partey, you know, until the end of the season. So I wouldn't expect any news before then, really. T. Hughes says, hi, Robbie. Can you say hi to my newborn son, Santi Hughes? Big up from New Zealand. Santi Hughes, big up. Welcome to the world. Stay safe and change this world. Change this world. Trust me. But welcome to the world, Santi Hughes. Chris says, Uncle Robbie, Leno, Saka, left back, and Aubameyang are the only Arsenal players that would start for Chelsea. No, I disagree. And we've done a combined 11 before with Chelsea, and there's been more Arsenal players, just as many Arsenal players as got into it as Chelsea players. Ty Anthony says, Robbie, why do our fans gas up players? If you watch Upamecano properly, he's not the defender we need. Now, you've only watched him in a couple of these Bundesliga games since we've come back. And we, you know, it's a natural thing we do. You know, we hear about a player and, you know, we look at our players and our defense and we're like, they've been poor. And then you see some YouTube highlights of a guy who's getting, you know, and to be fair to Upamecano, he's a very good player, but he makes mistakes just like everybody else. And he's a very young player and he's not the finished article yet. You know, it's a bit like with the Saliba thing. Why I'm cautioning a lot of Arsenal fans and saying that, slow down. He's a great prospect, but he's not the finished article yet. He's not the finished article. And when he comes to Arsenal, he's not going to be the finished article. You know, there's certain defenders you watch and you're like, finished article. That's what I want. Van Dijk, finished article. You look at him play. Yep. Koulibaly. I remember when I saw them playing against Liverpool, Napoli. You're just like, it's complete. It's finished. You just buy that, lift it up, put it into the Arsenal team, bang. But other younger players, you know, make mistakes. They get caught out. They're still learning as well. So let's be cautious with some of these players. Aditya says, hey, Robbie, what are your thoughts on Arsenal approach to the top four? It's crucial if we want players to stay. I'd really like to get on the show. The top four. Well, listen, as I just said earlier, you know, we've got to go for it. 100%. We've got to throw everything at it. And even if we do that, we still might not get it. We're reliant on other teams dropping points, but we've got to go all out. What else we got to lose? Just go all out for it. Marcel Smith says, hi, Robbie, we need to lock down Aubameyang In 2 years, I think he means 2 years. Nketiah and Martinelli will. Oh, sorry, I am wrong. He says in 2 years, Nketiah and Martinelli will be firing and can take over. Secondly, Aubameyang won't deteriorate much as he has electric pace, and he will still be faster than most at 33. Well, the age thing, I say it all the time. I saw Lewandowski again score for Bayern at the weekend. He's the top goal scorer by a mile in German football. He's ahead of Werner. He's ahead of all these guys. And he's 30, 31, 32 years of age. You know, Aguero over 30. Ronaldo, 34. They said he come in for training. He's in 2 hours before everybody else. If they're fit enough, strong enough, quick enough, still scoring goals, play them. Vardy, 32. Leading goal scorer in the Premier League. It's not a 21-year-old. It's not a 19-year-old. It's Vardy at 32. Followed closely in second place by Aubameyang at 30. Not far behind another player in their 30s in Aguero. Guna Gamer TV says, I defo 100%. I think defo 100% go for Edouard. He's an African player, and African players are some of the best in, if not the best in the world. Every successful team has a few. We could do with some more. So that's the key to it. Just get a load of African players, right? Why is Africa not won? Any African team won the World Cup then? If you go by that. But listen, he's a talent, Edouard. He is a talent. But I ask the question again: you sure we need him? Is he better than Eddie Nketiah? I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. Pavan says, love from New Zealand. We are coronavirus free. Why not bring the Premier League here? Also, if Leicester want Tierney, tell them we'll swap him for Maddison or Ndidi. That'd be a good swap. Coronavirus free. I know I've seen where in New Zealand they've been doing a great job in it. Their Prime Minister, she really seems ahead of the game when it comes to those sort of things. But wow, coronavirus free. Well done to them. We need to look to them to see what they've done and bring it in over here so we can try and get things back to normal. Because we certainly ain't coronavirus free at the moment. Afam says Eddie Nketiah is very underrated. He doesn't get the ratings that Saka and Martinelli get. Martinelli is a GOAT though. It's true. Eddie Nketiah, a score. I haven't even got the figures in front of me of how many goals he scored this season. Would be great if some of you guys could just bang it in there for me to see. But since he's come to Arsenal, he's scored a few goals, and he is very underrated. Very underrated, I think. And I do think he's a player. I think he's a natural goal scorer, and I think he's going to do well at Arsenal. I really do. Elliot says, greetings from Toronto. Great show. Give back Ceballos. Nothing special. Would rather promote from within than paying Real for an average player. Save money for Partey and Sangara. I don't think Ceballos is an average player, and I do think that Elliot, that remember, he had a lot of injury problems this season, which really, he started off well and then he got that injury and then he's been out for a while. Let's see what he does from now till the end of the season. I don't think he's an average player. I think he's above average player, but we need to see it. You are right. Cigar says, Robbie, love from India. Once Arteta said he wants his players to play in their preferred positions. Maybe that's the reason why Ainsley played as a CM, and Ainsley did play there and apparently played very well. I've only seen the highlights, but apparently he played very well. Yeah, I like to see Ainsley play in that position, and I'm going to be interested to see what he does in that position from now till the end of the season. It would be great to see him play there. John MB says, mind you, Danny Ceballos had one good game against Burnley. On AFTV interviews, this guy reminds me of Fabregas and Cazorla. Oh yeah, I know. I remember when people were saying that, and I remember Mo cautioning people and saying, "Listen, slow down." But I still think he's a good player. Cool Bear 248 says, "Hey Robbie, when do you think we'll start seeing Arsenal players in the England squad And who do you think they'll be? Well, the obvious one that could make that England squad right now is Saka, right? And then there is Eddie Nketiah that could have a shout if he was to get a run of games in the team, who could look to get in there. And there's also Willock. So we've got a few young English players. I always really thought that Holding could be a player that could make it, you know, the way he was playing at one time, that could make it into the England team. But obviously he's dropped right back. Saka, Willock, and Nketiah are the obvious ones right now that you can see hitting there. I'm going to do a last couple. Lord's Official said, I would rather have Nketiah instead of Edouard. He scores great goals and has Premier League experience. Also, we can develop Joe Willock into our next Ramsey. He has the determination and potential. Can't pronounce the name. He says, Robbie, enable channel points on Twitch. Okay, we'll look into doing that. And Mr. Celtic 12 says, Arsenal is not a step up. Celtic is a bigger club. Ooh, Mr. Celtic. No. Celtic are a huge club, but they're not a bigger club than Arsenal. But they are. If they were in the Premier League, they would be as big as any club. If they were in the Premier League, without a doubt. But they're not in the Premier League, and that does set them back in spending, in the type of players they can get, etc. But they are a huge club, no doubt, but not bigger than Arsenal. And let's do this one as the last one. Is the Dominic 1011. He says, hey, Don Robbie, what are your thoughts on the potential of finishing outside the European spot and not having a Champions League next season? Could it be of the benefit to Arsenal the same way it did Liverpool? I think it could be. We saw Leicester won the league without no Champions League or no European football. Chelsea won the league without no European football. We've had European football year in, year out. We ain't won the league. Maybe if we don't get into Europe, let's give it a go. No Europe and just have a go at trying to win the flipping league. Listen, thanks for watching the show today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget, we're going to be back tonight at 8 o'clock with another News Daily. And don't forget, by the end of this week, we are going to be getting into full game mode as it all comes back. Hashtag AFTV back again. Make sure you use that hashtag for all the greatest content that is going to be around Arsenal Football Club. Thanks for watching and see you later.